Beyond the Gates spoilers for Wednesday, July 16th suggest that fans will finally learn the truth about Martin Richardson's secret, while Vernon Dupree and Bill Hamilton will have a massive face-off. It's been a long time coming for BTG viewers, as the July 16th episode will center on Martin's traumatic night 2 years ago, one he, Vernon, and Anita Dupree have fought hard to keep under wraps. With that said, in recent weeks, audiences have been given some morsels of information regarding Martin's secret. Even during the Tuesday, July 15th show, during a conversation between Martin and Vernon, it was clear that even though the congressman was desperate to keep the incident hidden, it didn't sound like he was that much in the wrong. Vernon implied that Martin was simply defending his grandfather during a hate crime that seemingly Kenny and his brother had instigated. It's been implied multiple times that Kenny was a racist piece of trash. So many fans are starting to connect the dots about what may have happened. Still, they'll no longer continue this guessing game, as the information about what unfolded that fateful night 2 years ago will finally be exposed on July 16th. Speaking of Anita, she'll return home from her Articulettes' reunion concert to some drama, and she'll be completely taken aback by what's gone down since she's been gone. Anita is likely going to have a meltdown when she realizes how far things have spiraled in Martin's situation during her absence. Anita may be in damage control mode, as she sees how fast her family has fallen apart, and takes action quickly to repair things, if they are repairable at this point. Some people might be very upset, looking at you, Nicole Richardson, when they find out they were not kept in the loop about this. Finally, Bill and Vernon will butt heads over who's in charge, and this is likely about how Bill handled the Kenny situation. Vernon wanted to continue paying off the sleazebag, however, Bill just thought that was a short-term solution, as Kenny had come back before after a massive payday. Plus, Kenny crossed a line when he targeted Martin's kids. Bill ended up hiring Detective Marcel Malone to off Kenny, and unlike Randy Parker, Marcel was successful in his assignment. Beyond the Gates spoilers imply that Vernon has always preached that violence is not the way, so he's sure to be furious in the aftermath when he finds out Bill pulled the trigger on organizing Kenny's demise. We open on Dany Longlegs Dupree at the country club, where she's meeting Vanessa to discuss potential locations for her and Pamela's modeling agency. There's just one problem. Dany still hasn't decided if she should return to modeling herself. It could be a disaster, she tells Vanessa, fearing that a flop comeback would tarnish the legacy she spent years building. Vanessa gives Dany a much-needed ego boost, telling her that she could show new models how it's done, while also proving to older models that age doesn't limit how much you can work. She fully believes Dany has what it takes to make this new business a success. Naomi comes home from visiting June at the hospital, but Jacob can barely pay attention to his overworked wife. He's still thinking about his recent talk with Smitty, telling Naomi that her cousin may be in way over his head. Jacob brings Naomi up to speed on the Martin Malone situation, and she's struggling to wrap her head around the more complicated aspects. "I think this whole situation is coming to a head," Jacob warns her. The more they talk, the more Jacob begins to wonder if he's telling Naomi too much about her family's situation. Meanwhile, she's more preoccupied with June and the mystery of her past life. Jacob encourages Naomi to call the number on June's photo again. Maybe someone will pick up this time. And they do pick up, at least long enough for Naomi to ask if they know June. Then, another hang-up, but Naomi opts for persistence, dialing one more time. "Don't call this number again," says a voice on the other line. "My sister is dead to me." "Sister, you say?" Over at Orphe Jeans, Martin is preparing for a press conference, one Vernon does not support. "Thank God I got here before it's too late," he tells his grandson. Martin insists that coming clean to the public is the only way to end this living nightmare. But Vernon tells him that it will only make things worse for Martin and his family. Additionally, the truth coming out will put all parties involved, Vernon, Bill, everyone, at risk, since none of this was officially reported to the police in the first place. Martin is also upset to learn that Joey is involved in his situation, claiming he wouldn't have agreed to anything if he knew that was the case. At the casino, Joey and Malone are relaxing over a friendly game of cards, awaiting word about Kenny's potential whereabouts. Bill arrives, also eager for an update on Kenny, and Malone says he's got the situation under control, eventually leaving to track down their missing busboy. This leaves Bill and Joey, both of whom panic when they find out Martin is holding a press conference, worried that his name will be mentioned in Martin's speech. Joey heads to the diner with Bill in tow. "I'm trying to draw him back from the edge," Vernon tells them. But he's thinking with his heart, not his head. Bill also gives it a shot, telling Martin that he'll stand by him no matter what. He even offers to be Martin's defense attorney when this all goes south. While Bill introduces Martin to the press, purposely stalling for time, Vernon notices Malone outside the diner. He's got a gun, and even better, he also has Kenny. Vanessa arrives at the diner to speak with Joey, which comes as a big surprise to Vernon, who didn't think Vanessa did business with people like him. Vanessa quickly deduces that she's merely an alibi. Joey only invited her to the press conference so reporters would see them together. Martin takes the podium and begins his speech, but he's interrupted by Bill, who shows him a picture of Kenny dead on the ground. "It's done," he whispers into Martin's ear, bringing the conference to a screeching halt. As confusion spreads through the reporters, Martin sits down to process everything he's just learned. Samantha brings Tyrell up to speed about Martin attacking Kenny at the park, telling him that there's a lot more going on than Martin and Smitty are telling them. For starters, she tells Tyrell that Kenny purposefully befriended him to get to their dad. Even worse, she tells Tyrell about Smitty's ultimatum for Martin, that he shouldn't bother coming home. Tyrell doesn't believe that Smitty really meant it, and Samantha agrees. Meanwhile, Smitty takes matter into his own hands, confronting Kenny at the park. "I bet you thought your hubby was going to be the hero of this story, didn't you?" Kenny asks. "Sorry to rock your boat, but he's the bad guy of this tale." Smitty arrives home, but he's barely talking. "I know you guys have a lot of questions," he says, walking in like a mindless zombie. "I'll do my best to answer all of them. I just need a minute first." Smitty eventually comes back downstairs with a pair of Martin's suitcases, telling their kids that he can't have Martin staying at their home right now. "I'm sorry, but I don't have a choice," he tells them. Samantha immediately blames herself for letting Kenny talk to her at the park, but Smitty says that's not what this is about. "Neither of you did anything wrong," Smitty says, even to Tyrell, who had no idea Kenny was using him to get to Martin. Unfortunately, that's all Smitty knows, because Martin has kept them all in the dark for so long. Smitty says they have a right to know more, so Samantha asks him to let Martin come home and explain himself. Beyond the gates, spoilers suggest that Allison, Brianna Roberts, is exhibiting some creepy behavior. She was the one to dump Chelsea Hamilton, Ronnie Rose Mantilla. However, now that the social media influencer has found a new girlfriend in Dr. Madison Montgomery, Kenja McNeil, Allison has popped up out of nowhere, constantly ruining their dates at the local bar. Still, is she playing mind games, or do BTG fans have to brace themselves for a stalker storyline on the horizon? The first time that Allison was caught, oddly staring at the couple during a date, fans chalked it up to her wanting Chelsea back. The fact that Chelsea let the woman down gently, and then days later found her staring at her and Madison during their date at Uptown, was more than unnerving. Running into Allison once is a coincidence. Running into her twice is eerie. The fact that Allison flaunted her time with Chelsea in bed this second time around was terrible. Allison is clearly not a good person, but is she a little unhinged as well? The good news is that Chelsea does have a cop that is on speed dial, her brother-in-law, Jacob Hawthorne, who is married to her sister, Naomi Hawthorne. Chelsea let Allison know this, but Allison seemed to fluff off the idea that Chelsea would call the police on her. One person who did not fluff anything off was Madison. While Chelsea was unnerved by Allison's behavior and embarrassed by it, she did mention that her ex-girlfriend was harmless. But is she? How far will Allison go to get Chelsea back, and could Madison end up a victim in the crossfire of what could be Allison's obsession? Only time will tell. Do you think Allison is unhinged or just playing mind games? Maybe a little of both? Share your thoughts in the comment section. Tune into the new CBS soap regularly for all the drama and check out this site often for the best. Beyond the Gates news, updates, and spoilers. The Beyond the Gates What to Watch moments for Wednesday, July 16, 2025, have us on the edge of our seats. Once again, Vernon and Bill will clash. Anita returns home and learns what she missed. Martin will reveal the truth about what happened 2 years ago. Viewers will finally find out what happened with Martin 2 years ago. We have been waiting for this moment forever. Martin could unveil what really happened the night of the fatal car accident. Does this mean the truth finally comes to light? Or will Martin make sure that it will never see the light of day again? There's no doubt that Martin has found himself in a desperate situation. He will do whatever it takes to protect his family at all costs, but sometimes it's not enough. He has no choice but to share what happened that night. Who will he share this with? Smitty has been dying to know what Martin's been hiding. When Anita returns home from her reunion tour, she will have to sit down because she will be learning about everything that's been going on while she's away. As if Anita doesn't have enough on her plate. Her reunion with the Articulates didn't go as planned. Now we're wondering what's going on with Vernon. He'll be feuding with Bill once again during Wednesday's episode. The two will battle about who's really in charge. This is obviously a touchy subject, as the two men will clash. It's not surprising, considering that the two have been at odds for a while now. Bill always thinks he's in control. However, Vernon is the respected patriarch of Fairmont Crest. It'll be fun to see who will win this fight. Who do you think is the boss? Bill or Vernon? In the Tuesday, July 15th episode of Beyond the Gates, Martin was this close to making a move he would probably end up regretting. Besides, there was something we wished he had done first, before calling the press conference. Martin seemed determined to confess the truth behind what happened 2 years ago. Although part of us wondered that when he started his press conference, that what he really was going to do was resign from his political gig. He would make that sacrifice for his family and to keep that secret hidden. A secret that might involve a hate crime of sorts, and him defending himself and Vernon from the hate crime? To which he wouldn't be the bad guy, would he, Kenneth? We still don't know the exact details, of course, but Joey's people came through. And by people, we mean shady detective Marcel Malone and his people. Malone is probably expecting another big-ticket payout to solidify his impending retirement. Thankfully, Martin didn't tell his story at Orphe Jean's in front of Bill, Vernon, Joey, Vanessa, and the press gathered. The whole time Martin was at the press conference, ready to tell his story, we couldn't help but think of his family. At home, Smitty had to attempt to explain to Samantha and Tyrell why he was basically throwing Martin out of the house. The teens didn't understand. They wanted Smitty to let Martin explain his side of things first. However, like Smitty said, he has given Martin multiple chances to explain. If Martin had confessed to whatever went down 2 years ago at the press conference, it would have been frustrating because then his family would have found out about this horrific happening, along with the rest of the world. Martin needed to sit Smitty, Tyrell, and Samantha down first. He should have given them a heads up as to what was about to happen, and he should have included them in this decision. They have a right to know before the world does. At the very least, Smitty deserved to know first before anyone else. He's Martin's husband, after all. Smitty was understandably upset, and this could very well be a deal-breaker. Marcel offered proof that Kenneth the bigoted busboy was suitably and decisively taken care of. What were those emotions all over Martin's face? Were they feelings of guilt over this whole Kenneth situation being resolved with violence, or relief that he would no longer have to look over his shoulder? With Kenneth gone, will they all be able to put this horrific business in their rear view? There's always a chance that after Martin talks to Smitty, they decide that Martin should come clean with the police. But something tells us Smitty might make the decision to also keep it secret. Here are your spoilers for Beyond the Gates on Wednesday, July 16th, 2025. Martin is tired of other people trying to control the situation that affects him and his family. He's seen Kenneth successfully gain access to both of his kids, Samantha and Tyrell. And now, after assaulting Kenneth, Martin wants to remain in control of how this situation is resolved. Martin's answer to all of this is to call a press conference at Orphe Jean's. In Wednesday's episode, Martin reveals the truth about what happened 2 years ago. Vernon's fears are realized, and it looks like the cat's going to be out of the bag. Stay tuned to see what fallout our favorite Fairmont Crest residents face. The matriarch of the Dupree family is back, and just like when she was in Chicago with the Articulates, things are a mess at home too. In Wednesday's episode, Anita returns home and is stunned to hear what's gone down while she's been away. Vernon has some explaining to do, and Nicole is going to need to be brought up to speed on everything to do with Martin and the night from 2 years ago. This is quite the mess for Anita to return to, but Vernon needs his queen if he's to put a positive spin on any of this. The Kenneth problem needs fixing, and fast. The clock is ticking, and this ticking time bomb of a situation is going to blow up in everyone's faces, and very important faces at that. While the consensus is that Kenneth needs to be gone, the method is to be decided. And who is running this show? In Wednesday's episode, Vernon and Bill clash over who's really calling the shots. Vernon clings to his anti-violence stance, and Bill is realistic in his approach. The ends justify the means and all that. Both have a lot at stake here, and they'd better get on the same page before the situation is sorted from another angle, and in a way they'd both rather not have happen. Here are your photo spoilers for Beyond the Gates during the week of Monday, July 14th to Friday, July 18th, 2:25. Martin calls a press conference, and Smitty confronts Kenneth Smitty. Gets proactive. The latest events have really shaken things up, and he won't let up or rely on Martin to come clean with whatever's going on in his life that affects their entire family. Smitty manages to track Kenneth down and confronts him at the same park that Martin accosted him. Smitty wants answers, and sometimes it's best to get them straight from the source. Sometimes a burden is just too significant to bear alone, and Nicole is about to be read in on the events of that awful night 2 years ago. Anita tells Nicole that she has to be ready to deal with the aftermath. This is just the beginning of Discovery Week, and a tearful Nicole has a lot to process. Jacob and Elon are about to have yet another discussion regarding crooked cops, nosy reporters, and how to toe the line. Jacob is the perfect example of what a cop should be, and will follow the trail and investigate whoever needs it, no matter if they are family or not. And that is just the kind of problem Elon does not need. Jacob has questions for his father, but will he successfully get the answers, or just more dodging? Martin made a phone call to reach out to the press, and he's about to stage a press conference at Orphe Jeans. This is bad news for all involved, and almost everyone is there to see this take place.